Hello and welcome to the video, ladies and gentlemen. Here today I have a Celesteela Valley deck. This deck was originally piloted all the way to the finals in a previous tournament in, I believe it was 2017. Went all the way to the finals and lost to Tord Reckliff's Zoropod. Now, it was standard at the time, and now it isn't expanded. So what I've done is I've went ahead and I've made some changes, made some a few tweaks here and there to kind of make the deck fit and run a little bit better and expanded. So for the idea of the deck, it's taking type null, so Valley-GX, as well as Celesteela and Kartana-GX, putting them together with Registeel and dhelmise. So here's a little bit of a breakdown of how the deck works. We do have one copy of Oran Guru for that indestructibility. He's also able to kill those pesky hoopas with that barrier ability, basically. We've got 3 copies of type null with the armor press, and we've got 3 copies of Valley-GX that has the gyro unit. Your basic Pokemon in play have no retreat cost. Turbo Drive does 120. Attach a basic energy card from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. Rebel GX does 50 damage times each bench Pokemon that the opponent has. And then we've got Celesteela-GX. This is an interesting card because it is a metal type Pokemon, but it does have a resistance to fighting, weak to electric. Not great when pikarom is everywhere, but it doesn't have to be the main attacker in the deck though. And we have Rocket Fall, which does 30 plus 30 more damage for each colorless in your opponent's active Pokemon's retreat cost. So it could do some decent numbers for 1 metal and a DCE. Then we've got Moon Press for 1 metal and 3 colorless. And then we've got Blaster GX for 180, 1 metal, 3 colorless. And you get to turn all of your prize cards face up, and they remain face up for the rest of the match. Now we also have 1 copy of Kartana-GX for the Slice Off ability. That will let us discard a special energy from one of our opponent's Pokemon. We get to choose, just like an enhanced hammer, basically. And he also has this attack Gale Blade for 1 metal and 2 colorless for 70 damage. You can shuffle him. He gets to shuffle himself back in the deck with all the cards that he has attached to him. So potentially you could do a beast energy onto this Kartana-GX and bump this 70 up to 100 with choice band to 130, and then he just sort of ace rolls himself and ninjas himself out back into the deck with those energy. So it's a little bit of a sneaky attack. Blade GX can actually win you a game if your opponent is playing single prize attackers. You can just bring him up, attach the 1 basic metal energy, Blade GX for the game. So it does help when sometimes your opponent is playing those GX EX where they're the 2 prizers when you knock them out, but then all of a sudden they bring up something like a baby Volcanion, and just to get that out of the way, you can take that, even the prize trade, basically. Then we've got 2 copies of Registeel. Very good starting Pokemon for 130 HP. For 1 metal energy, Turbo Arm lets you attach a basic energy card from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. So technically, if you need to Ultra Ball, and we do run 4 copies of Ultra Ball, away energy, put 1 in the discard, you could Registeel it right onto a type null or a Celesteela. So that really helps because we have 2 copies of dhelmise, so that 30 suddenly becomes 50. And we attach our choice band, which we have 2 copies of, and that 50 becomes 80. And that's pretty good damage to poke and accelerate energy as an opening Pokemon. We've got 2 copies of Tapu Lele. This will help us grab out our things like Acerola, our Cynthia, our Guzma, whatever we may need really in the situation that we're in. We do have 2 copies of Field Blower. Field Blower is still a very good card. I don't see why any deck should have less than 2. We have 4 copies of Max Elixir, with 1 copy of the Rescue Stretcher, and that works in conjunction with the Ultra Ball. So in case you need to Ultra Ball something away, you can get it right back with the Rescue Stretcher if you have that in your hand. I put in 1 copy of Special Charge because I felt that E-Hammer is very prevalent. There's a lot of decks that are playing at least 1 copy of E-Hammer, if not 2. So having the ability to get 2 double colorless back into the deck really helps us. 4 copies of Ultra Ball. I put in 2 VS Seekers. I found that this was a great number. This really helped in some very clutch situations where we're dead drawing. We didn't top deck a supporter. We have the ability to go in, just grab a Guzma for a knockout or something along those lines. If our opponent has way too many cards in hand, we could VS Seeker for the N, because typically what I do is I typically Ultra Ball the N away when I get it in the opening stages of the game. 2 copies of Professor Sycamore. We've got 2 copies of Reverse Valley, so it's upside down, but when you play the card and you choose to face it towards this side, towards you, it basically gives an extra 10 HP because it reduces 10 damage to all metal Pokemon. So that really helps on Celesteela, putting Celesteela up at 210, putting Registeel up at 140. So it's a little bit of an annoying thing for our opponent to try to hit the right numbers. 2 copies of Acerola. Acerola is just very clutch when you've got a damaged Silvally and you could recycle the double colorless. Helps out tremendously. 4 copies of Cynthia. We got 3 copies of Guzma. 1 copy of N. As I said before, 2 copies of Sycamore, 2 copies of Choice Band. We got the Beast Energy. This is an updated addition to this deck because when the deck was originally piloted, Beast Energy was not in the format at that time. So that's very valuable because Celesteela can start doing 160 on the Moon Press. And then when you add the 2 dhelmise, it does 180. And a lot of basic GX are either 170 or 180. So that really helps out there. And then even if you happen to be doing Blaster GX, now you're up at 210 without the Choice Band and without any dhelmise. Add the Choice Band and the Beast Energy, you've got an extra 60. So then all of a sudden you're doing a good amount of damage to be able to hit some of the tag teams potentially for knockouts, unless they do have that resistance. So Pikachu Zekrom is probably going to be the #1 enemy of this deck because you are weak to electric. You can't use the Celesteela. So that is going to really, really hurt the deck. But we do have 9 copies of Metal Energy, and 9 is slightly high, but you realize that you're going to be putting them back in the discard to be getting them right back out, and it makes sense. So let's get into the matches of the deck, and you guys will be able to see how this thing runs. All right, next match here, I see they're playing a Grass, Colorless, Dragon, and Psychic. I'm going to pick Tails on the coin flip here. Do lose this coin flip. Maybe it's Rayquaza with the Prism Star Shaman. A pretty good opening hand here. Obviously going to put the type null as the active. Okay, so my opponent flips over Execute, so maybe this is the Alolan Executor, and they're using both the Grass and the Dragon version to try and hit different weaknesses. Oh, interesting. They grab the Celebi and Venusaur GX tag team as well as the Lugia GX. Let's look at the type null on the bench. So this is a really interesting deck that they've got here. They attach the DCE onto the tag team, and then they drop down the Prism Star Life Forest Stadium. Wishful Baton onto the Venusaur. All right, I'm going to go ahead and bump their stadium. We definitely want to get rid of that Prism Star Stadium. Choice Band onto the active here. And we need a draw support here. So rather than using the Ultra Ball to discard those other supporters, we're going to go for, maybe we want to play a Bridget here to get set up. Yeah, let's go with the Bridget to get set up. So we'll be able to thin our deck of all of these and get a full bench state set up. We're going to grab a Dhelmise, Registeel, and I'm debating if I want the... Okay, let's just go with the type null. Another type null then. We'll set up our Silvallies in this matchup. Okay, Max Elixir does not hit. And unfortunately, we are going to have to get rid of those 2 supporters. I was hoping that we wouldn't have to, but we played the Bridget instead. We're just going to instruct and this is looking good. So I'm actually kind of glad that I did that. I mean, we do have another copy of the Acerola. We got extra copies of Guzma, so it's not really a concern. And by thinning our deck by playing the Bridget, we are hitting on our max elixirs now, so that's nice as well. We're gonna put that on the type null, so we've got 2 different threats kind of set up. They go ahead and they attach a grass to the Venusaur, so they're able to do that first attack on that Venusaur tag team. They play Cynthia. They Nest Ball for a Trico. And for a Wimpod. Okay, we grab a Max Elixir. We hit on the Max Elixir. I'm going to get the other type null started. And then I'm going to Cynthia. All right, awesome. Off of the Cynthia, we do hit both of our Silvally. Now, we don't want to evolve the one in the active spot at this point. That's not really going to help us out in this situation. I'm a little bit hesitant to evolve into the one on the bench, but what I'm going to do here is a little bit of a tap play by bringing up the Registeel. It's basically saying, hey, can you knock this out? If not, I'm going to knock out your Execute if you don't, follow up with either a Guzma or some sort of Floatstone, Switch, something along those lines. And there it is. So they Guzma. So let's see what they Guzma up. They Guzma up to Silvally. Now, they don't have a Choice Band on. Their GX attack, they're going to want to save because it only does 180 damage. I'm thinking of their bench. If I GX, I'm going to be doing 250 damage. They play a Timer Ball. They got 1 heads, 1 tails on the Timer Ball. They grab their Silvally-GX. But what their first attack could do is confuse, poison, and burn. But they actually opt for the other attack that does 150 damage. The second attack. So we top deck the Acerola, which is nice. So we're definitely going to want to Acerola the damage away there. I just bring up the Registeel just to sort of, tap on this thing. I want to get the one with the Choice Band powered up because what we can do is we would be able to use Rebel GX and it'll do a 280 damage. We'll wipe this tag team completely away and erase it. And we'll get 3 prizes off of that, which will put us ahead by doing the tap with the Registeel for 40 damage. It actually guarantees that even if we don't have the Choice Band, we'll still get the knockout because we'll do 250 damage and I put it 290 damage total, which would then, give us that knockout that we need. They play a Max Elixir. Max Elixir goes down onto Lugia. Another Wishful Baton here onto their Lugia GX. Just checking their resources there. Okay, there was evolution into Galissapod, and they knock out the Registeel there. So I just bring up the Oranguru because I got the Silvally up, and we're going to get the free retreat. I actually top decked the DCE, which was amazing. So just going to bring up the Silvally-GX. And I'm just debating whether I want to just dump this hand. And I think, it's probably better that we don't play the Celesteela in this matchup. And it's beautiful because we get rid of the Wishful Batons. That was the one thing that I was really digging for. That was my goal by playing that Sycamore, was be able to find one of my 2 Field Blowers. Because I really just didn't want them to have the ability to get those 2 extra energy out there. So this is forcing them to not be able to do Lugia's GX attack unless they have energy in hand, or they can find an energy, and they're not able to do his second attack. So playing Tabulele Wonder Tag here for a supporter. And they go for Pokemon Center Lady. Interesting choice there. Now they've got their Grovyle up. They're doing Sunshine Grace. I'm going to go in and look for a Grass Pokemon. They grab a Heracross. So it's interesting if you look at my bench right now. I don't really have any other attackers set up now. I know I'm going to be able to attach return. And I'm also going to be able to do Turbo Drive because I don't have any other attack to be able to do with Celesteela-GX. So we're just checking here in the discard, see if I got any energy in here. I've got 2. All right, so we definitely know that we're going to put an energy onto this type null. I've got a lot of cards in hand. I'm just debating maybe putting a couple more energy in there to get this the Silvally into my hand, just so in case they Guzma next turn, they can't knock it out. So I grab this Celesteela-GX. We're going to go ahead and evolve. I'm actually going to play the Rescue Stretcher here. I'm going to get some of the other things like the Dhelmise and the Registeel back in the deck. Because I can't fit the full Silvally and type null line, I'm going to go ahead and throw that Celesteela back in, just in case the game drags out longer than I would like it to. And then I'll play the Cynthia now that I've thinned some of the resources from my hand, basically. I'm going to go ahead and Turbo Drive. The Turbo Drive is going to put the energy back onto the Celesteela-GX, and that way next turn I have an energy in my hand I can attach, just in case it just so happens that he does his, I believe it's called Lost Purge, and he puts my active into the Lost Zone with all the cards attached to it, just in case. And he does. He does Lost Purge, and that actually does hurt because you can't special charge that DCE back. You can't Rescue Stretcher any of those things back in there. But cool thing is that we did Rescue Stretcher that Celesteela, so we'll be able to Turbo Drive onto it, accelerate an energy to it. We'll have 2 energies by next turn onto it. And if the Silvally goes down, we've got another Dhelmise, drop that down, we got a Registeel. Our hand is pretty loaded at this point. I mean, we've got the Lele, we've got the Guzma, we've got the N. Pretty much got everything that we need at this point. I mean, we could knock him out next turn and it's pretty much game. He went and he retreated. We've got the Guzma, we're just going to snipe, and that's going to be the game at this point. And then we'll just Turbo Drive for the knockout. Beautiful, beautiful. And there we see the victory screen. All right. Let's move on to the next match. Alright, I see the fighting box with fighting psychic colorless. Lose the coin flip. That does hurt. Well, not the ideal start with no draw supporter. But we could potentially get 2 metal energy on the Celesteela, which is not bad. And Celesteela isn't the bad. Actually, it's probably the better starter because of the resistance. Because of the fighting resistance, I just prefer to start with the Registeel. Okay, this is the Hitmonchan. Okay. So they play 4 Hitmonchan, 4 Wobbuffet. They're going to shut off our abilities when Wobbuffet's in the active. So it's really ideal to be able to hit that 110 knockout damage every turn and shut down their lock that they try to do, basically. Kartana's going to be valuable to be able to slice off the energy. This deck has gained, that my opponent is playing, has gained a lot of popularity for the short time span that it's been around. It was just posted and the list was just put out there just a few days ago, actually. Okay, so we do hit on the max elixir. That's nice. We can do manual attachment on the Celesteela. We'll put down our stadium, which will help us take 10 less damage from attacks. So technically our resistance is bumped up to 30 at this point. They don't have any float stones on the Wob. That is the ideal thing that they do. So it's going to be really important that we get the field blower, make sure that we get full value out of the field blower, I should say. At this point, we don't really need an choice band. They don't play any EX or GX. So at this point, we can just get rid of the choice band. We can get rid of the metal energy. I want to go grab a type null. We'll go ahead and throw that down. That way we can evolve next turn and we'll be able to do a Guzma play if we've got the beast energy in our hand. So we could potentially knock this out. What's its retreat cost? Just 1. Okay, retreat cost of 1. So 60, 70, 80, 90. We will get the knockout on it, which is nice. And we should get some more pulls with the Instruct after we play this Guzma. So there we go. That's nice. But they're going to bring the Wob up after that, and it's going to shut off our ability to Instruct. So we need to just play this now to grab a Lele while we can before they shut off our ability to actually play the Lele and do the Wonder Tag to get the supporter. And we'll get Sycamore because that forces them to have to play an N against us if they don't want us to be able to get draws for next turn. We hit dhelmise, which is nice. It bumps our damage up to 100. Okay, another fighting energy attached down. They went right into the Hitmonchan. They must have had the other strong energy in their hand already. This, like I said, it was going to force them to play that N, so we see the N from our opponent. They didn't want us getting 7 cards. Understandable. We hit a Registeel off of that N, and they're only doing 40, the resistance. So we do top deck and energy, which is really nice here. I guess at this point, we can bench this Registeel. I think it would be nice to hit on this Elixir, but no, we don't hit the Elixir. See the DCE in the top cards there, which is nice. I'd like to get a DCE going because we can just one-shot everything on their board if we get a Sil Valley up. I'd say I'm going to save the Stretcher later for more value. Okay, we got the DCE in our hand, and we've got a VS Seeker. So we can get a Guzma back. I'm going to save the blower because we're going to just walk right over this Wobbuffet. That's no problem for us there. I just don't think this deck has the backup attackers to really get a one-shot knockout. They're trying to play an ability lock, and I just think it's a little bit too weak. It can catch some people off guard. I don't think it's going to catch this deck off guard. Even with the Shrine of Punishment, that's not going to be enough. We've got our other stadium. Now, I know that they play 4, but like I said, that's why we're going to get full value out of our field blower. They use Karina for their supporter for the turn. It's going to get them an energy and an item. They grab VS Seeker. They actually play the Hitmonlee in this list. That's different. So they're going to go into him because he can do 90 to a benched. Oh, they actually don't. They go into the Wob. Okay. Well, let's get our DCE down here. Let's bump their stadium. Right. And I think we're going to go with a Guzma, because we'll shut down their combo. They won't really be able to do anything if we knock out this Hitmonlee, or Hitmonchan, I'm sorry. We'll go here. So we get our retreat because abilities are off again. And we'll just sit on this hand at this point. Those are really good cards to have. And now we're up 3 prizes already. So this is doing very well. If we hit like an Acerola, that would be very clutch. Let's see, another floatstone. So that's what, their third? Nope, second floatstone. Okay. They Guzma up the Registeel. Interesting choice. Now, does the Diancie take into account on this one the special combo 90 damage to one of your opponents? Hit and run during their last turn. Okay, let's see. The VS Seeker again to get an N for next turn. Okay, so it doesn't, and the stadium still helps in that situation as well. We actually hit the Acerola, which is very clutch right there. So we'll just Acerola and scoop that up. Get all of our energy back, which is really nice. And we'll retreat. We'll just go into the Silvally at this point. We hit another type null. I'm a little hesitant about benching that at this point. I'm debating it if I should even throw that down at this point. I think it's going to take a lot for them to really knock out this Silvally anyways. Alright, and right there you see our opponent knows that, well, they're just not going to be able to recuperate after losing all the damage that they did do to that Celesteela, and that's going to be that match there for us. Alright, then on to the next match here. Opponent is going to get to go first. And this is a pretty nice opening start, aside from not having a draw supporter. Opponent's playing Fairy. Fairy's typically weak to Steel, so this should help us in this matchup. So it's going to be Sylveon. So instantly we're going to be able to do 60 damage for just 1 energy. I'm not sure if it's Sylveon's stall deck though. Sylveon's stall deck, that could be a little bit of a potential problem. And they go ahead and they Lysander up the Celesteela. Okay, that's interesting play. Oh, they're just going to go ahead and attach the DCE. Hopefully they don't go for an E-Hammer. We get a hit on the Max Elixir there. I'm going to go on and I'm going to dump this metal as well as the stretcher, which does hurt a little bit. We only have one Lele in the deck, but we are going to use this Lele. Get some draw support here for this opening turn. But all 4 Cynthia in the deck. I don't really want to play N at this point because they couldn't attack and they couldn't do their magical ribbon. Potentially N next turn, so they can lose any cards if they do try to magical ribbon if they're going to be playing the stall. We do get the metal energy there. I'm going to go up and then I'm going to drop the stadium just in case they're playing an attacking version. Obviously going to bench this, and we're just going to sit at this point with what we have in our hand. We could actually go ahead and no, we'll just wait at this point. We'll just pass to our opponent. And they play Crushing Hammer, so I think this could be some sort of stall deck here. Team Flare Grunt, yes. It's definitely going to be some form of a stall mill deck here. Luckily, we do have this special charge to be able to get that DCE back. So I don't think it makes sense why they wanted to get rid of the Registeel, because they knew the Registeel is the most energy efficient, effective attacker. Okay, so they magical ribbon for 3 cards there. I'm going to bench another Registeel. I'm going to bench the dhelmise. I'm going to go ahead and attach another energy to this Registeel as well. And then I'm going to Sycamore. Hopefully we hit into an Ultra Ball or our Silvally. We got the Ultra Ball. So I'm going to Ultra Ball away another metal energy. And we can go ahead and get rid of this Field Blower at this point. We'll grab our Silvally, so we'll get to retreat for free. So we're hitting for 80 because of the dhelmise on the bench now. I'm actually going to go ahead and power up this Celesteela because it is a basic, and they've got no way to potentially shut off her abilities at this point. They play Big Malasada to heal 20 damage. Field Blower. They get rid of our Stadium. And then they drop a Ralts as well as a Eevee. So maybe this is a balance between being a little bit of a stall, being a little bit of a attacking deck as well. And forgive me, I'm not familiar what this one does. I think it prevents all effects except for damage. Okay, so they can't have any special effects on them, I guess. And they're playing Magical Ribbon, taking a little bit of time here for them to find what they want. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and attach another metal energy from hand here. That way we don't have the option of them being able to get removed from Enhanced Hammer. We've still got one left in the discard. I'm kind of hesitant between what I want to do here with going for this Ralts and getting rid of the Ralts. We're doing 80 damage to them, but that would put them at, let's see, 40, 100, 140. or going for the knockout on the Ralts? I think it's probably a little bit better of a play to go for the knockout on the Ralts here. Let's get some prizes here and potentially shut them down from being able to set up a Gardevoir that next turn. We still get to accelerate energy as well, which is nice. And I'm basically going to put it here. That way we get a double threat option. DCE here and we'll be attacking. DCE here and we'll be attacking. We've already got this Registeel here. Got that Registeel there. And they play the Fairy Drop, the heal up again. That's a little bit annoying at this point, but unbeknownst to them, we're going to be able to knock that Sylveon out next turn. I don't think it's really worth it to waste Acerola on the one prize attacker. So we're going to go ahead and bring that up. And we'll just Moon Press for knockout. You can see that they went ahead and they powered up the Tapu Lele because they know that they're going to be able to do a good amount of damage with it. So 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120 before the choice ban. So that's why I was explaining previous turn it would be better to save that Acerola on the 2 prize attacker. Really undo a lot of the hard work that they put in. So there's the Enhance Hammer. Kind of expected that to be coming, which is fine. That limits their damage that they're doing anyways. And then what we're going to do here is actually we could just knock this out, honestly. It would put them in a bad situation to just go ahead and knock that out because we've got these other metal attackers here that can just do some good damage to them. So we'll just go ahead and Blaster GX them. And there we see the concession from our opponent. Once again, they just didn't have what they needed to really outpace us. We had too many tools, too many different techs there. So that is a good demonstration of how the deck works against a couple of the different decks here. Mill decks and things like that. We've got the tools like Acerola, we've got the Max Elixirs. We can continually recycle energy with the Registeels and with the Sivalis. We got 2 different GX attacks there. We get that mobility with the free retreat. It's a little bit of how the deck works, and if you guys enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and let me know. My question of the day is going to be, what is your favorite artwork, full art GX card? Leave a comment down below with the answer to the question. I'll give you guys a shout out in my next video. Thanks guys. See you later.